Rocket League is genuinely one of my favorite games of all time. In fact, this channel was made because I wanted to make Rocket League videos. However, as the years went on, the game had a slowly declining player base. Are players just not as interested in Rocket League anymore? Or were there some changes to the game that players didn't like? In this video, I want to go over the history of Rocket League and what made the game so special to people, including myself. This is the rise and fall of Rocket League. Rocket League was developed and published by Psyonix and released in 2015. This game was actually the sequel to the 2008 game Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Powered Battle Cars. That is one heck of a name. The game was pretty simple. It allowed players to be assigned to one of two teams using rocket powered vehicles to hit a ball into their opponent's goal and score points over the course of a match. This game is essentially indoor soccer with elements of demolition derby with it. The game includes single player and multiplayer modes that can be played both locally and online. And Psyonix began formal development of Rocket League at around 2013 and wanted to market the game by using social media and other promotions. And in July of 2015, Rocket League was released on the PS4 and Windows with ports for the Xbox One and Nintendo Switch later on. Rocket League was praised for its gameplay improvements over the Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Powered Battle Cars game. I can't believe I said that without stuttering. As well as its graphics and overall presentation. And after a few months after the game was released, Psyonix released an update that added game modes such as mutators, modifying specific gameplay elements such as increased or decreased gravity, ball size, ball speed, and bounciness. And for the 2015 holiday season, another update replaced mutator matches with an ice hockey inspired game mode called Snow Day. They also throughout the years added different game modes as well, such as one in February of 2016 which was called Hoops, which is a game mode that was inspired based on basketball. They even added a separate Rumble mode which incorporates unusual power-ups such as the ability to freeze the ball in place or cause a single opponent to have difficulty controlling their car. And the early growth of Rocket League was pretty quick, selling over 1 million copies on Steam by the end of 2015 and accumulating over 8 million downloads by the end of 2015. And personally, something that I absolutely loved about this game when it came out was the soundtrack. If any of you played Rocket League, you know the soundtrack is awesome. Specifically, the unreleased tracks I really love. Those were the songs that were just very nostalgic to me. So Psyonix observed the popularity of Rocket League matches on Twitch and other live streaming platforms, and in March of 2016, Psyonix announced the first Rocket League Championship Series. And this was the beginning of the Rocket League esports scene. And the first RLCS, the finals took place in August of 2016 with a $55,000 prize pool and more than $1 million in revenues from the sale of in-game crates and cosmetic items were used to fund additional competitive events throughout the year. Soon after its release, Rocket League became an officially sponsored esport, joining the ESL, and in September of 2015, Major League Gaming announced the first season of Pro Rocket League, and this was held in September through early October. Not only was Psyonix also adding different game modes to the game, but they also added DLCs to the game, which they were able to collaborate with some big franchises, and because of this, they were able to add different cars to the game, such as the DeLorean from Back to the Future, alongside Gears of War and Halo-themed vehicles were added, as well as the Batmobile, which was pretty dope. But Psyonix also wanted another way to monetize their game, so in September of 2016, they introduced a loot box system known as crates, where players could purchase them with a random selection of in-game customization items opened through the purchase of keys using real-world money. These crates were earned by just simply playing the game, and you were able to trade them with other players, or you could just open them for yourself. And this system was very similar to CSGO. If you played it, you could have crates and you could buy keys to simply open them. Honestly, this was one of the best changes they made to the game. Because of this update, Rocket League content creators were making videos opening up crates, trading items with other players, and spending tons of money on keys in order to get very rare items in the game. John Salmon is a great example of a YouTuber back in the day. I would watch him so much just doing Rocket League trading videos and collaborating with other Rocket League YouTubers. It was so fun. When it comes to the items in the game, there were different tiers. You had common items, uncommon, rare, very rare, import, exotic, and black market items. These items ranged from mystery decals for your car to wheels, toppers, antennas, boosts. Eventually trails were added. And throughout the years, Psyonix added some amazing looking items to the game, such as the Zomba wheels, as well as some really cool mystery decals such as Heatwave. On top of that, the items typically came in different color variants as well as certifications. So for example, if you found a wheel that you like, for example the Zombas, you could trade and grind for this specific color set, which added a lot of replayability to the game. The trading in this game was super fun, however it had a big problem, and that was people trying to scam. These scumbags would try to trade with other players, trying to scam them or being unfair with the trades. For example, there was a pretty common scam with the titanium white Zombas, which is a very high value item in the game and a lot of people like how it looks. However, the gray color of the Zombas looked very similar to the white Zombas in the trading menu, so simply a scammer would attempt to trade by putting the white Zombas visible in the trade. Then they would message the person that they're trading with either on the same platform like Xbox or PlayStation, or they might even send a message through the in-game chat. And if you weren't careful, you wouldn't notice that the scammer replaced the white Zombas with the gray Zombas, and you would complete the trade and then realize you got scammed. Even though there were scammers on the platform, trading on Rocket League was so fun. In fact, it was so popular there were even websites that tracked the Rocket League market, so you can actually look up and see how valuable each item is in the game. And there were even websites where you could see trade offers from other users on every platform like Xbox, PlayStation 4, etc. These were the golden days of Rocket League for sure. However, in May of 2019, Epic Games acquired Psyonix, and other things would change in December of 2019. And due to an increasing governmental concern over loot boxes, Psyonix replaced the crate system within the game with blueprints. And blueprints acted very similar to crates, that you can earn them just simply by completing matches, and then blueprints could then be crafted using the game's new premium currency called credits, or they could be purchased with real world funds. A new rotating item shop was introduced in December of 2019 as well, with featured items available on a 48-hour timer and daily items on a 24-hour timer. The item shop itself includes different types of in-game items such as painted cars, exotic wheels, goal explosions, etc. Psyonix also eventually added a rocket pass in which players could unlock certain items by playing the game. This is very similar to the Fortnite battle pass. However, the switch from crates to blueprints were not received well by the player base, with one user saying, "I feel like blueprints should be discounted so there's an actual benefit to getting something you like. Anytime I see something that looks nice, it's always 2,200 credits, and I'm not spending that on a single item." And for the most part, blueprint prices to craft the item are typically way more expensive than just trading to get the item. The only way blueprints actually have a benefit is if the item is actually a high value item like the white Zombas, for example. And Epic Games also added some changes to the Rocket League platform, making it cross-play, which is really nice. Then later on in September of 2020, Rocket League became free to play on the Epic Games Store, and this saw a massive spike in the player base of Rocket League, the highest it's ever been. Even though the player base was as high as it's ever been, later on in December of 2023, Psyonix removed player-to-player trading. This change was made to align Rocket League's cosmetic and item shop policies with the Epic standards, and this was pretty bad. And honestly, this excuse was not all of it. Epic Games simply just wants more money, because why have it to where players could trade items with each other when you could just remove trading altogether and force your player base to have to buy items they want from the Epic Games shop? It's pretty scummy. And I'm not the only one that thinks this. There was a user on Reddit that said it best. 2 words: corporate greed. It's all because they want more microtransactions rather than people getting high tier loot for free. It's always been overpriced in the shop, like black markets worth 300 credits being sold in the item shop, or blueprints at 2,000 credits. And another user saying, yeah, this is an ugly move. Remove something from a game and make it 50% better. But hey, at least they're adding something. Thanks, Epic. After reading this, I probably won't keep investing my time in Rocket League. Time to uninstall and show them how much they're really losing. And this was not the only thing that players were complaining about. Throughout these recent changes, players also complained about the toxicity of the game, especially with the spams of what a save text chat, when enemy players would spam pretty much once they scored against you, and this upset a lot of players. Other players also have experienced persistent latency and server problems, and this is something I've also experienced back in the day. Imagine trying to play a game when your ping is always over 100, but for some reason when you go and play play a different game, there is no ping issues whatsoever. Sometimes it would get so bad to the point of where my ping is literally off the charts and I just simply have to leave the game because it's just an unplayable experience. And simply put, some people just left the game because they just removed trading altogether. Some people thought the corporate greed was too much and they decided to dip out, and honestly, I can't blame them. And in my opinion, the removal of player trading was one of Rocket League's biggest letdowns. At the time of this video, there's currently 274,000 players online across all platforms, which is very good. However, I do feel like the golden years of Rocket League are behind us with the removal of crates and trading. Rocket League is still very fun, don't get me wrong, especially if you play with your friends. It's just annoying that Epic Games added a shop and forced its player base to buy items they want rather than just being able to trade with others. Corporate greed at its finest. With that being said, I have so many great memories playing Rocket League, and I'll definitely have to hop on it next time I get some friends on. If you did find value in today's video, consider leaving a like and subscribing for more videos like this. Thank you for sticking towards the end of the video. I really do appreciate it. There's some videos on the screen if you're interested, and I'll talk to you guys later.